I've worked in event planning for years. I've handled all kinds of situations, last-minute cancellations, drunk guests, fights breaking out at receptions. But nothing prepared me for what happened at the Carter wedding. The venue was a historic mansion that had been converted into an event space. It was the kind of place that had a long driveway, marble floors, and old paintings on the walls. The wedding was set for late evening, with about 100 guests attending. Everything was planned down to the smallest detail. I arrived early to make sure everything was running smoothly. The staff was setting up the chairs, the catering team was preparing the food, and the florist was arranging the last of the centerpieces. The bride, Emily, was in the bridal suite, and the groom, James, was with his groomsmen. Everything was on schedule. The ceremony started at 7 p.m. The guests were seated, the music played, and Emily walked down the aisle. Everything went as planned. Vows were exchanged, rings were placed, and the couple was pronounced husband and wife. After that, everyone moved into the main hall for the reception. Dinner was served, drinks were flowing, and people were having a good time. As I walked around, checking on things, I noticed someone standing near the back of the room. A woman in a dark dress. I assumed she was a guest, though something about her seemed off. She wasn't talking to anyone, wasn't eating or drinking, just standing there, watching. At one point, I asked one of the staff members if they knew who she was. They didn't. I figured she was a +1 that no one had mentioned, so I let it go. Weddings always had extra guests who slipped in unnoticed. Then the speeches started. The best man spoke, followed by the maid of honor. Guests laughed, clapped, cheered. I scanned the room again, and that's when I realized the woman was gone. I didn't see her leave, and I didn't remember her moving. I went to check with security. They had been monitoring the entrance all night. When I asked if they had seen a woman in a dark dress arrive or leave, they looked at me confused. They hadn't let anyone in who wasn't on the guest list. I asked if they could check. The cameras, the footage showed the reception hall. Guests mingling, dancing, eating. But where I had seen the woman, there was no one. Just an empty space near the back of the room. I replayed the footage several times. The guests around her were acting normal, like nothing was strange. But there was no one there. I didn't say anything. I just went back to the reception, finished my work, and made sure everything ended smoothly. By midnight, most of the guests had left, and I stayed behind to oversee cleanup. As I walked through the now empty hall, I glanced over at the spot where I had seen the woman standing. I don't know why, but I took out my phone and snapped a quick picture. When I looked at the photo, the room was empty, but in the reflection of one of the windows, there she was, standing exactly where I had seen her earlier. I didn't tell anyone. I didn't want to be the guy spreading weird stories about a wedding. But I never worked at that venue again. In a small village, a cat named Whiskers discovered a magic fish in a pond. The fish promised 3 wishes in exchange for its freedom. Whiskers wished for endless fish, a cozy bed, and a bell that rang softly. The fish granted all 3 wishes and swam away, leaving Whiskers content and purring in the sun.